Hello, team. Today's challenge is par for the hole, where we get a par and the number of strokes, and we needed to determine which of these strings is the right output. Okay. There is a thing that I'll talk about in a second where they haven't quite covered all of their bases, and they don't give instructions on how to solve for that. So we will be taking it a little bit further just to solve for that as well. But let's get started on this one first. Okay. So the question becomes, how how do we access these? Not like that. How do we access these? We could use a some sort of a conditional, a series of ifs. We could use a case statement. We could loop through these and do something. But today, I just want to create an object, a special kind of object called a map. Okay, and the reason for a map is that we can have any key that we want for a map. So we could have an array as the key for an item inside of our map, or a function of all things. I don't have an example of when I do that, but they are out there, right? There are people that have written lots of articles on that. For us today, we want to do negative numbers. And if we were doing arrays, well, arrays doesn't really support negative numbers. We'd have to do something funny in order to get those negatives working, right? Or if we did an object's keys are always strings, right? It really wants it to be strings. So today I'm using a map. Okay, we're going to call that par name. Seems about right, and it is new map. Excellent. The ergonomics, the structure of creating this map, a little bit funny, right? We pass it an array, and we pass it an array of arrays. The first item in each of these arrays, not like that, that's an object, is a whatever our key name is, and the second one is our value. Okay, I feel it's a little bit easier just to do this, so we are going to use some double cursor magic here to get it done. Okay, so backing it out and grabbing this this asterisk. Okay, we can get them all. We can put it in there. We go and get the if, multiple cursors, just like this, cleaning it out, wrapping that in that array, adding any number for the moment just to get it done, jumping to the end, adding a comma, and we're there. Okay, now we just need to update these numbers. Hole in one being a special case, we delete it, but eagle. Okay, again, we want to use numbers, and we want to be able to support negative numbers, which is why we're using the map. So eagle is 2 under, okay? Birdie is 1 under, par 0, bogey is 1 over, double bogey, 2 over. And the nice thing here is that when we have this done, if we wanted to add triple bogey underneath that, we can absolutely do that, okay? So any other terms that are in here, we can go and do that. But for now, we're here. Our first conditional, okay, inside of golf score, the function is going to be that hole in one, right? So if strokes equals 1, return hole in one. We'll just go and copy and paste it so I don't get this wrong, because that's been known to happen. Done. Okay, the hole in one is done, and we can move on from there. Okay, now from here we need to get the difference between our par and our strokes. Okay, and it's hopefully going to line up with one of these. It will, because all of their tests currently do that. Again, we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, but for now we have diff. Okay, and that diff is going to be strokes minus par. Why not par minus strokes? Well, it would flip the math, right? So strokes minus par gives us that -2 as an eagle, whereas par minus strokes would give us a +2, and we'd have to write this as eagle. So we would have to flip the shape of this map, okay? Or do some extra math, and I don't want to do that. Strokes minus par gets it done. We are in good shape. And then from here, we just return par name dot get diff. Okay, that should do it. At least for the test that they've asked for, that should do it. Okay, and what I mean by that is if we go back to the instructions and we look at, say, number 4 here. where it's a par 5 and 7, double bogey. Not great, but there's a name for it, okay? If we were par 5 and 3, right, that would be an eagle, right? We can do that. If we were par 5 and 1, that would be a hole in one. That's really obvious. But what about par 5 and 2? Okay, we don't have an entry for par 5 and 2. My research shows that it's called something like an albatross or a double eagle, but we don't have that entry inside of here. Could we go and add it? Absolutely, because we have that map. Makes it really easy to update, right? No problems. But what if it's par 5 and 20? What if it's par 5 and 100 because you just had the worst golf day of your life? Like just absolutely terrible. How do we represent that? Okay. So instead of updating for the missing values, which we absolutely could, I want to have a default output that always works, even if one of these doesn't exist. Okay. And that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to grab this because actually I'm just going to expand on it. Okay. Like this, paste it down, comment this out so that we have it for reference later. And I want to do a conditional. So if this conditional works, then we return parname.get. And what are we doing? Well, we're doing parname.has, and we're looking for that diff. Okay, so if it finds it inside of here, then it's going to return whatever that name is: eagle, birdie, par, bogey, double bogey. Okay. Otherwise, we need a little bit of extra stuff, and we can still see that it works, just in case you're wondering, okay? But down here, we need to figure out some other stuff, okay? Let's start with the return. The return is going to be n strokes under par, okay? Now, there's a couple things that we want to change. The first is this, so we want this to be something. And the second is this over under, okay? Because we want to be able to flip it back and forth, okay? This, so the number of strokes over and under, this number should always be positive, okay? Because the over under part tells us whether it was positive or negative, okay? Because our diff can be negative, we need to flip it around a little bit, okay? And that looks like this. Math.abs, which I have used in the past, diff, and we return something that we haven't created yet called over under, okay? Over under is right here, so we have over under is equal to, loud car ran by there, so weird. Over under is equal to math.sign, not sing, sign, okay, of the diff. Now, math.sign returns one of 4 items: -1, +1, without the plus. So -1, 1, 0, and sometimes -0, which is kind of odd. -0, we don't really need to worry about it here, but and we don't even need to worry about 0 because we have par, right? The 0 is already covered off. We just need to worry about minus or plus, which means that if math sign is equal to -1 as a number, well, then we return under. Otherwise, we return over, okay? And that will allow this to get it done. Unfortunately, we don't have a way of testing this because, hey, we don't have any test conditions. But if you wanted to, you could copy and paste this into something like CodePen or JSBin and output some console logs to see the magic happen. For now, this is where we end it, okay? We have covered off all the bases that I wanted to cover today, which is we created this special object, this map, okay, which allowed us to use those differences as keys, right? So if we're 2 under, we get an eagle. If we're 1 under, we get a birdie, bogey, double bogey, and we can build into this really fast. So if we wanted, this could be a 3 over, which is a triple bogey, I believe, right? Or that albatross, that double eagle. It's all in there. It's all good. We can expand on this as much as we want, and we make that work right here. So if we if our if if our diff the words aren't working anymore. If our diff exists inside of our map, then we just output that. Otherwise, we return this very helpful default statement. Okay. Did you do it a different way? Did you catch that they didn't cover all of the edge cases? Maybe you didn't. That's okay. But if you have a different solution and you want to share it, drop it in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.